Hello everyone, welcome to King's Talk presented by Cap City Crown. This is Tony. With me, as always, we have John. It's the first week of July, maybe the second week. No, it's the first week since we recorded. First week we've talked since free agency opened up. First time we've talked since Summer League started, the California Classic. Keegan Murray going off at the Golden One Center. You know, we got some things to talk about today, John. How was your fourth?
It was good. I just couldn't wait to get back to you, Tony. Could not wait to get back to this podcast.
I mean, this is, what I wake up for every morning. Just hope and looking forward to the day that we can hop on the podcast.
That's right. And talk about how the Kings maybe didn't make a splash by any means, but they're in a pretty decent position, I think, to build off of the success of last season. Yeah, they extended Barnes, which did not excite a lot of people. Well, it didn't excite everybody. A lot of people did recognize, I think, the good in that. But
yeah, it was like with the Barnes thing, you just want to jump straight into that. Since that was the first thing that happened since the last time we've talked. I don't know, like looking back on the Barnes situation, I saw a lot of people being like, "Oh, like let's sign Barnes like for $12 million." I'm just like, what world is that gonna happen? Yeah. Like it's an NBA starter who shot 39% from three last year.
Plays both forward positions. He's a pretty versatile defender. He's got all the shrewdness and experience in the world.
Yeah, I'm just like, yeah, exactly. Someone was gonna sign Barnes for more if they wanted to. So I never saw that as realistic. I mean, some people don't like the $18 million, but then you saw Jeremy Grant signed for $32 million. Like, yeah, Harrison Barnes isn't as good as Grant, but he's not far off. I mean, he's not totally far off. I mean, I think Harrison Barnes is closer to Jeremy Grant than Jeremy Grant is to like Kevin Durant. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, and there was a couple other contracts that really put it into perspective. I don't know if at that small forward position exactly, but there's a lot of big contracts out there in free agency on that first day, and Barnes' contract after that, it looked minimal. Really?
Yeah. Well, that's how it works. I mean, he's basically not getting paid much different than what he was, but money is such that, value only goes up, especially in this league. It spikes up quickly, and so, like, in terms of the specific cost of Barnes, you're not getting ripped off. You're not splurging. You're not doing anything like that. It just seemed to fit right into things. And we were talking about it in the last episode. It's just, you have to think about, the big picture here. And Barnes fits into the big picture relative to what the options were. You're not going to sign Kuzma for whatever. How much did he?
Yeah, that's another contract. I think $30 million. So I think it was like 25. But still, it's that's for like 4 years.
That's
like, I think he had the Draymond contract. I think they both got $400 or $100.
Right. And Draymond's a little bit of a different case, but and that was never going to happen. Draymond to the Kings, but we indulged people with that last time. But just considering everything that they had to do this offseason, everything that they'll have to do later on in terms of keeping guys that they have on rookie deals now in the future. I mean, you have Kuzma on the books in a couple of years, and you need to re-sign, name whoever, Davion, or at a bigger expense, Keegan Murray, hopefully. Mm-hmm. And things get a little thornier, but the Barnes thing's far more manageable. And what we also kept saying last week was, it's like, if you did need to move money around, it's far easier to move an $18 million contract than it is a $25 million a year contract. So,
and you know what's so funny talking about this? You kind of remind me of something. It was like, we're talking about like saving money for the future, because maybe we need to re-sign Murray with having Sabonis and Fox on now maxes. I remember having the same conversation like 4 years ago where it's like, well, you gotta save money for Fox's max, you gotta save it for Buddy's max. Marvin Bagley's probably gonna need a max in 4 years.
Yeah, you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself.
Yeah, but no, it feels different though in a good way. It's like, I mean, obviously Fox and Sabonis are legit max guys and have their maxes for a reason. Keegan Murray, you can't get too far ahead, but I mean, he's definitely going to be another discussion today with his summer league play. But sorry, getting back to what you were saying.
That was essentially the point in itself right there. I mean, Barnes, as much as you wanted to, I guess going in another direction, there was probably more appealing to people was the trade market, going after an OG Anunoby or something like that. and you'd have to give up Murray at that point. It kind of all comes back to Murray in a way. But, in terms of the future plans, the full window of things, even if Barnes is, on the wrong side of 30, even if he didn't excite people with his performance in the playoffs, and he did quite the opposite of that. But, in terms of keeping the window as big as possible, believe it or not, extending Barnes relative to what was available, that was the way to do it. Because you'd be shortening your window, or at least putting yourself in danger of shortening or limiting your window had you gone for a big old move like that. Monte McNair swung for the fences when he got Domantas Sabonis. He waited for his pitch. He hit it. He's not going to swing at something outside the zone. He's not going to swing at a freaking 3-0 count. So...
Yeah, and telling you all right now, Kuzma or Jeremy Grant at $32 million a year over 5 years, that was not gonna.
Jeremy Grant's almost 30.
Yeah, and I like Grant. I really like Grant. I think Grant would fit in great.
If they could have gotten him last offseason, that'd have been awesome.
Yeah, but it's just too much. You can't spend that much money on a guy, and it's just gonna hinder your cap space going forward. And the Kings. I like McNair because in a league of super teams right now where you sign everyone right now, Monte not only has the now on his mind, but he also has the long term on his mind, and that's what I appreciate about him.
Right,
and
he always wants to be aggressive yet disciplined. As cliche as that sounds, he's embodied.
It's something you don't see a lot right now in the NBA. The Warriors just went after Chris Paul. They're all in, and I'm not saying they're the only team, but. The Suns getting Bradley Beal. You want all the talent you can get. And so going after a Kuzma, sure. That'll make you better right now. It won't make you better, in 3 or 4 years.
And we even made the argument last week that just based on the style of play of Kuzma and just kind of how much he actually succeeds with the ball in his hands and whatnot, as a connecting piece, even if you're talking about a third star, you still want that kind of connecting factor to things. I don't know if he really fits that.
No, he doesn't.
Would he have actually made the team better at $25 million a year for the price? Probably not.
No. Barnes fits this play style. You didn't need another ball-dominant guy. You needed... That's why I like OG Anunoby and Michael Bridges or Mikal. I don't even know how you say
McCall.
It. Is it McCall?
We get a lot of comments like, this guy didn't even know how to say his name right. Turned it off as soon as he called him Michael.
I really have no idea. But
I think you should call it the way you want to call it. You call it something. Don't let other people.
But it's like, yeah.
No, you go ahead. I was just sticking around.
Well, it's like we were all over them. It's like, well, they actually could fit into that small forward position while being on the better side of the small forwards. They could also take that third option. Where I don't think Kuzma can, and I think that's another guy we talked about on a podcast a couple of weeks ago. Kelly Oubre, the small forward position, take him. Of course, that guy scored 25 points, or 25. He scored 20 points a game last season, and he hasn't been signed yet.
He scored 20 when a bunch of guys got hurt.
Exactly.
His role had to be
because
advanced.
what would his role be as not?
Yeah,
and just like Kuzma. I'm surprised he hasn't been signed yet, though.
It's interesting, kind of things like a bunch of stuff happens in the first couple of days, and things kind of calm down, and people assess. Maybe Summer League has something to do with that. But, I don't know. Interesting. Good you brought him up. I almost forgot.
Yeah, I saw it this morning. It's like, Kelly Oubre is not... here's a 20-point-per-game guy who's 27 who hasn't been signed. Who are they talking about? Yeah. I'm like, oh, yeah, Kelly.
Well, it's probably because, on the market, people don't value him at a 20 million... Or 20 point plus...
I wonder what he's asking.
He's probably asking for 18 or 20 million.
Probably.
I think when he... ventured from the Warriors, and he didn't have the greatest year with Golden State. He was asking, I don't know. He was. All I know is there's a bit of a track record with Oubre where he demands a little bit more, whether it's money, usage, or opportunity with the ball in his hands, whatever it is. He's always demanding a little bit more than he's probably deserving of.
If would you sign Oubre as a backup for $10 million?
Yeah, but I don't think that the Kings need that now, obviously. So considering what the Kings have on the roster, no. But if the Kings had a huge void, if they were in the situation last year, and it's we need a backup to Barnes, and it's you can get Oubre for $10 million. It piques your interest, but I think considering everything that is current right now, probably best just to stay away from him. I think you got. I don't think you have I wouldn't say that the Kings know who their number 2 at the 3 is for sure, but they have a ton of options. And they have a ton of options that have a ton of upside. Oubre is like 28, 29.
He'll be 28.
Yeah, so you're kind of getting to... You've seen what you've seen out of Oubre. So I do think he would be a good bench option, but considering what the Kings have, I kind of see what they're doing.
Yeah, maybe less than 10 mil. I'd jump over it.
Yeah.
Once you hit double digits... Cause I don't know. I'm not sold on... Because, I mean, kind of moving on in a way. It's like... Because a couple more moves that happened where that Duarte got traded to the Kings, Chris Duarte, and it got released today that he got traded for a 28 and 30, or 2028, 2030 second round pick. So 2 second rounders for Duarte. I mean, it's not terrible.
Yeah, well, this almost kind of illustrates the lesson of we don't go head over heels over a guy, because the Kings wanted him in the Sabonis trade.
Yeah. That's what I was saying earlier.
And now they're getting him for 2 seconds.
Yes.
They're getting a guy that has injury history, is maybe not necessarily going to fill the role that they need him, or he could fill the role, but I guess due to the injuries, he's not necessarily a promise to fill a role at the wing. But you're getting a guy for 2 second round picks that could end up being a low risk, high reward move.
Yeah.
Which kind of
seems... That's a Monte move.
That seems like a characteristic
McNair
move. That really does. And we were talking about with Kessler Edwards, and that totally ended up being the epitome of that. And Duarte could supersede that. I think right now we'll see. But, hey, you got a guy for 2 seconds that was considered untouchable.
Untouchable. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure the report was that the Pacers would not include Duarte in a trade with the Sacramento Kings for Halliburton. And it's so funny, 2 years later, it's like, here's 2 second rounders.
Yeah.
For this guy. I mean, I get it. He's injury prone, and he didn't have the greatest season last year. Because I remember his rookie season, everyone was like, man, this guy's so good. 'Cause he's older, too, for a third-year player now. I think he was old, obviously, as a rookie, if he's old now. I think he was like a 23-year-old-ish rookie, like a Stetson Bennett out of Georgia. But college football, no one understood that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know where he's going with that.
Well, I mean, just off of that, I mean, he did, to his credit, kind of like begin to change the narrative on like, well, do you take a chance in the first round on an older rookie? Davion was
he was a senior,
and he was what, pick number 10 or 12?
11.
Okay.
12? He might have been 12.
Something in that range. So kind of like later lottery. But yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that either now. But
it's just that, Duarte, at the end, is bringing us back to Duarte. I mean, he saw his potential, even if he's an older third-year player. I mean, I think he's going to be 26. As a third-year player, you're usually thinking like 22, 23.
One of the things I like about him is that, and this could be a knock on some guys, like he doesn't have necessarily like a strength that could develop into some kind of an elite thing.
He'll be 26.
He'll be 26.
Or he is 26. He'll be 27 sometime this year.
Right. But that is one of the things that I kind of like about him, is that he doesn't have like, I guess like his calling card is like a mix of things, which I think in terms of like being a role player, and obviously McNair and company likes what they see out of him. A lot of people like what they see out of him. I'm sure that you take the injuries out of the equation, things are a lot different. He might still be untouchable, but he's gonna be in a position to do a lot of different things, whether that means playing off-ball on offense, playing a little on-ball on offense. I don't really know how many opportunities there will be for that, given the amount of talent that the Kings have in on-ball guys that can handle that and be a playmaker. But also on the defensive end, he can do a little bit. There's a little bit of everything, and it's kind of a wait-and-see approach. I think one of the things that's interesting about Duarte is physically, play style-wise, he's not far off from Colby Jones. They're both like a little undersized for the wing. They're not quite point guards, kind of combo guards that guard the wing, again, to kind of use that description. And it kind of puts you in a position where Duarte could come into camp, take the primary minutes at that role, that Terrence Davis role, if you want to call it that,
I always love that. It's a Terrence Davis
role or the KZ Okpala role.
Yeah. That third guy probably gets some minutes. Yeah. I kind of like how we have a word. Everyone does now, though. It's like, it's a Terrence Davis role.
Yeah. And that one makes a lot of sense because Terrence Davis really was kind of in that awkward kind of alternate man in the rotation. Is he in, is he out? But seems like if I had a bet, Duarte would get that. And it just puts you in a position where you might be able to get more out of him with a different situation and with the best training staff in the league. I think that's an important note.
Yeah, that is true.
We'll see how much that pays off. Everybody could end up getting hurt next season.
I know.
Could be like the 49ers in 2020. But, it's one of those things where you kind of see what you can get. And then if injuries do come up, if maybe he's not as fruitful as you'd like him to be in the role, then the opportunities will start to fall in a rookie Colby Jones' lap. And, Colby Jones is a second-round pick, but kind of the first-round pick in everybody's minds. He got the contract of a first-round pick, essentially. It's just kind of going to be nice to not put anything on anyone's shoulders. And so, while Duarte doesn't excite, it gives you versatility, it gives you options, and it really does further the depth. We talked about this team last season being deep, and they were, If you're talking about Terrence Davis being a guy that could be in a lot of teams' rotations, and he's kind of on that fringe of the rotation, I think the way it is now, you're essentially your feature pick from the draft, your main acquisition in free agency. I mean, it was a trade, but you're kind of throwing these guys together, and nobody's promised anything. And I think iron sharpens iron, and it's going to be good. And I just think the team is way deeper now.
Yeah, and I think an important note to point out about Duarte is that he's played with Sabonis before.
Yeah, which I didn't even think about.
Yeah, and it's maybe was only half a season before he got traded. He could have come over with Sabonis, but Pacers said he would not be included. But something important to note is that per 100 possessions with Sabonis, Duarte averaged 24 points per game, 3.8 assists, and shot 39% off of three-pointers off of Sabonis' passes. And you're like, yeah, well, I mean, I could too with Sabonis initiating the offense. But it kind of just shows that he's going to fit the system well. I mean, Sabonis is the offense at the end of the day. And it seems like he's going to fit the system well, too. He's going to fit right in. I think that it's nice to know, too.
Yeah. I mean, how did that work out for Justin Holiday?
That's a great point. Justin Holiday can hit it.
But Holiday did kind of hit the end of the road for his career, I think, unfortunately.
I mean, where is he now?
I don't think he was with Dallas at the end of last season.
Was he?
Yeah, I think he was throwing up.
Dude, I was so pumped to get Justin Holiday.
I loved Justin Holiday when he was just like that, not in the rotation with the Warriors. I think he signed with the Sixers or something after that. Or maybe I'm thinking brother of his. Atlanta. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
After the Warriors. Atlanta.
And then because he ended up getting traded to Atlanta with the Herter deal. So that's just interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is, huh?
But, yeah, I just always like Justin Holiday.
He's going to go to Justin Holiday.
But to give Duarte some credit off of that, he's not Justin Holiday. Justin Holiday is a spot-up three-point shooter he was a two-way 3-and-D guy. That's pretty much the extent of what he did. Duarte's a little bit more than that. He can handle the ball. He can create for other people. Granted, that's nothing he does is elite, but he does a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So he's gonna have a chance to hold his own, and I do actually kind of anticipate him getting minutes over a guy like Colby Jones to start at least.
I mean, he should. As long as Chris Duarte can stay healthy and consistent, I think he's going to get a lot more minutes than we're going to give him credit for. I mean, he was super good as a rookie. There was a lot of potential in this guy. Yeah. Hit a wall last year. I mean, if he can stay healthy, I think his consistency will, stay consistent. I don't know what the word is. But he'll stay consistent, I guess, is what I should have said.
Well, I think the consistent role is important.
A consistent role as well.
Because you get Halliburton there. Halliburton is such a good primary ball handler. One of the best in the league, even at his age. His contract extension speaks to that.
Yeah.
And I read somewhere from a Pacers outlet that was like, Duarte's his role is a little different now because you have like such a key feature. Your best player is Tyrese Halliburton now. Yeah. That wasn't the case. Mm-hmm. You could play Duarte with, a facilitating big man and it would mesh a little bit better. It's a little different when you have, Tyrese Halliburton in the backcourt. So maybe some more consistency into the role and what he's expected to do will help him kind of be able to produce. So off of that note, I mean, things will be easier for him to be consistent. I mean, granted, he has to stay healthy, but the role is going to be far more specific, I think, which should probably help his cause.
Yeah, probably.
So, yeah.
I think it was, one of the best moves so far.
Yeah, I mean, it can't hurt.
I mean, it's hard to compare because everything else was just a re-sign. But, it was nice to bring in a fresh face that we weren't expecting and be happy with it, too.
Yeah. Maybe not the most exciting move, but I think it's solid.
I think more people were more excited than you're giving them credit for.
Yeah.
I think they were just like, Chris Duarte had a lot of pull his rookie year. They were talking about this guy. Like, yeah, he kind of fell off last year, but people remember, and they remember that potential.
Yeah, true. I think definitely.
And he was untouchable in the Sabonis trade.
Exactly. When you put it in that context, it's different.
That's right there.
Yeah.
That's directly affected us.
Moving on. Well, they also re-signed Alex Len, which is nice.
Cool. Nice, yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to. Kind of using this as an opportunity to kind of transition between the free agency start period and the California Classic. There's been a lot of talk about Neemias Queta being the third center, and I think
third or fourth?
Third or fourth to start.
I think
it's important to note.
Fair.
Because, yeah, you're saying you'd be behind Lyles. Mm-hmm. Because Lyles, you have that option of a smaller five.
Well, you brought in Bezenkov.
Two. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The whole thing. But the important note about Queta is that he did not get a two-way contract. There's a two-way contract still open. There's 3 available. The first 2, they re-signed Keon Ellis to 1. They gave Slauson 1. There goes my thought about Slauson being on the roster. But things change quickly in the offseason, as we know. But Queta, it's a little less clear. His future's not certain. I take that as kind of a thing is, well, let's see what he does and see how much improvement he shows in live basketball action. It's his last opportunity to play in Summer League because he's a third-year player as a pro.
It stops after 3 years?
Unless they change that, but I think that's still the case.
No, okay.
So it's getting to that decision time. And I just don't see the argument for putting him in the rotation. I don't see the argument for putting him on the team. I don't see the argument for him playing in the NBA. I think he's got a great thing going on in the G League. His consistency, his ability to make decisions, his body control, all sorts of things are just not NBA level.
No.
And quite frankly, at his age, at this stage in his career, it's not ever going to be.
No.
I don't believe in it.
You wish it would be, and you hope it's there, because he was, drafted with Davion 3 years ago now. Mm-hmm. It's just, you're right, it's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. You would have seen improvement. It just hasn't improved. And it's just his body, I guess.
And the main thing, in that first California Classic game against the Warriors, he had 5 fouls in 14 minutes of play. And it's he ended up having 7. Because in those games, I think you don't foul out until you get 10. Just generous.
It's a 10, really?
I think they should make it 6 or 7.
I thought
it should be
7.
It should be close. Maybe it was at one point, but they were yeah, it's 10. I'm what? Are you trying to teach these guys anything?
Yeah, I know, for real.
And one of the things Luke Lux talked about, I think Brendan Nunes prompted him on it, just kind of talking about defending physically without fouling, and he's talking about 2 of the big things that are important for this team going forward is the connectivity, which they're doing very well. Players kind of getting together in the offseason. They did that last year. They're doing it this year. And the other thing is physicality. You saw it in the playoffs. To varying degrees, sometimes it was good against the Warriors, sometimes it wasn't so good against the Warriors. And you saw it throughout the season. There'd be a lot of times early on in the season when physicality was nowhere to be seen. It was a little more prevalent later in the season, but still not super consistent. But that physicality, as important as it is, you cannot disrupt that by fouling all the time. Mm-hmm. And that is my biggest qualm with Queta, is he just fouls all the time. I think I don't have the numbers in front of me, but if you look at his fouls per 40, per 36 minutes, they're not good.
Let me see. I mean, even in the NBA, I know it's pretty bad. But yeah, He fouls way too much.
Yeah, and you just think about that role, too. You need to be the spark of energy. You can't go in there and start fouling and slowing things down. You just can't. And I think there's you'll hear people say that they're a fan of Queta. Of course they're a fan of Queta. He has some shot blocking ability. He has some degree of athleticism. He can be really good on the boards and can be kind of crafty around the rim. We saw all last season him being crafty around the rim. We're seeing him be crafty around the rim this year, and he's actually kind of finishing with his left hand a little better this year. But still, the things that, that stuff doesn't keep you on the floor if you're fouling, if you're being inconsistent, which is another big thing. And I don't know, I just feel like the Queta thing is more out of hope than anything.
It is. I mean, I love Kings fans, but they love young players and they want them to be the next big thing. And I think they see it in Queta. It's like, well, second in G League MVP voting and shot blocker, 7'1" guy. I mean, he shows he has, I think he had potential. And so it's like it's easy to get like stuck with him. It's like, no, he's gonna be the guy. He's gonna be the next big center. It's lasted this way forever. Maybe with a winning attitude and a winning, just winning in general. That'll change now. But Kings fans tend to get stuck on their young players. And Queta right now, young or newly drafted players, he still falls in line with that. Yeah,
and it's just like. Also, it's, in the Summer League, they try to just run the same offense for the Kings. And so a lot of things is Queta operating at the top of the key, doing DHOs, passing it off and setting a screen, whatever. And you can just see by watching him that the processing speed is subpar. It's not good. And I don't necessarily think that, well, if the Kings needed him to play in the NBA, that they would force that role onto him. But I think that's a huge factor. I mean,
of course.
Do they want to deal with that? I mean, Len isn't a facilitator, but Len's smart with the ball. He's a great screen setter. He has a great feel for the game. He's been around it forever, Queta doesn't really offer any kind of much of a alternative kind of benefit.
No.
And, well, you'll say shot blocking. The Kings need shot blocking. You hear Luke Luck say it just like Mike Brown. I'm not a big fan of shot blocking. I think he'd be better off getting a better position and guarding as a team, things like that. You can't just get Queta in there and think that's going to solve all your issues on interior defense, especially if he's going to foul all the time. What's the point if you can't play him 10 to 15 minutes because he's fouling all the time? What's the point if you got to, if he's giving Sabonis rest by fouling and stopping the game and giving Sabonis extra time because there's stoppages in play, that's a horrible reason to be putting him out there. But that might be the only reason that he's helpful. I'm not trying to be grim and mean, and I'm sure I'm not, this is strictly on him as a player relative to the NBA. But it's just I don't know. And he's awkward still. He's physically awkward. I don't know if he ever grew into his body the right way.
Mm-hmm.
But those are just my thoughts. Let me know if you disagree or agree. People have strong opinions about Queta. They either like him or they don't believe in him.
I mean, yeah. I think I'm just realistic. I said, I want to be, I want him to be good. I want him to be able to play at the NBA level. But he's going into his third year yet in the Summer League games, which are, they're Summer League games, but, you can tell a lot. Murray scored 41, which he should have, regardless of, whatever.
Right.
So it's he's still awkward against guys who've never played in the NBA.
G League, International League talent.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's very telling. I don't think Queta will ever make that step, and it's finally time to realize that.
Yeah. I mean, we'll have to see what happens in Vegas. Maybe he shows some things. Maybe he has that 3-point shot that is...
I don't think it matters. I don't think Queta will show anything in Summer League.
What can you show in Summer League based on what you just said?
Exactly.
That's the argument.
We have Sabonis. I think Trey Lyles honestly will be the primary backup 5 with Keegan Murray and Vezenkov at the 4, and then you have Alex Len. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, but based off the California Classic, getting into a far more positive note here. Because everybody likes positivity. And why wouldn't you be positive about this Kings team? Keegan Murray decided to go ahead and play in the California Classic. He won't be playing in Vegas. Mm-hmm. He'll travel with the team and continue being a team leader, which he's been with this group of guys. But we saw from Keegan Murray a 29-point game followed up by a 41-point game. Just a man amongst boys. I mean, like, it's one of those things where when I found out that he was playing in Summer League, I'm like, what fucking universe is a first-team all, rookie who broke the record in three-pointers, who started for a playoff team and, like, struggled at the beginning of the playoff series and then persevered and ended up being one of the best impact players in the final couple of games. How does that guy go up and have to play in Summer League? Why? It's not like he's Chet Holmgren and got hurt, you know? It seems so wrong, and, he's been killing it. He's been killing it. He's been showing off what he can do with the ball in his hands, how he can get to the different spots, with his control of the ball, what he can do on defense, guarding smaller players in space, running the floor. I mean, I think one of the greatest things that you hear about is what Luke Locke said after the Warriors game was that he and Lester Quinones, I think Quinones hit 3 and, like, looked in, like, Murray's face, and then Murray, like, answered back and then said something to him. And, like, Lux was like, that's just awesome. That's the kind of stuff you want to see, just, like, puff your chest out type stuff. And, like, you're talking about one of the most, like, reserved, emotionless, stoic players out there in Keegan Murray last year. He never smiled, never got fired up, nothing like that. And you're kind of seeing that from him. And we always talk about him being, like, a super confident player. And, kind of another note that Lux mentioned was that in one of the scrimmages they played, he scored, like, 18, 19 straight points and had everybody's jaws on the floor, just of how good he is. And I think it's kind of building up towards this thing where it's like we're always constantly talking about from the end of that Warriors series to now going forward, what's that leap going to be like? Because it's not just going to be like, a step into the next season. It's going to be a full-blown freaking jump into the next season. And you're seeing him do all these different things. Will we see him as much with the ball in his hands? Will we see him doing everything that he's doing now? No, they don't have to make him do that. But he's willing to, as he put it, put himself in uncomfortable positions and learn from it. And, I mean, what more do you want to see?
Yeah, I mean, it's been interesting because, like, since Monty's been in Sacramento, he's had 3 lottery picks. Well, I mean, this year excluded, but he picked 3 lottery guys who weren't, like, the number 1 options or, like, even number 2, number 3s. Like, using the lottery, it's like, okay, well, this guy's going to be our next big thing, and put the ball in his hands, let him work. Even Keegan Murray as the number 4 pick, the highest of Monty's picks so far. So it's Keegan with the back roll, not back roll, but he was a starter, but definitely 3rd or 4th option. Yeah, he was not a prime, maybe even a 5th option. Let him play California Classic and build his confidence, and it's exactly what he did. And people are like, well, don't let him get hurt, but it's like, no.
Man, basketball, dude, let him play.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, it's nice. It's nice to see him go out there, and, I mean, like we said, the talent he's going up against, but that kind of just confirms what we know he's capable of. I mean, yeah, anyone could, like, any NBA player could potentially score 41 against those guys, but
he's doing it in ways that you don't see him do it in the
exactly. He showed a lot more. Yeah, exactly. Showed a lot more of his tricks
and his leadership. He's, like, more vocal with guys. He's talked about. I think after the Warriors game, he was like, "I'm just trying to be more vocal with guys." I know because I was in a lot of these people's shoes just a year ago. Like, this situation as a first-year player, not knowing what to expect and all this stuff. So, just trying to communicate with them. Ask them questions, give them things to look out for before, after games, all these things. It's like, man, this guy. It's like, didn't they always say that between him and Chris, he was the better student?
Did they?
I think so, and I can see why. No condemnation of Chris Murray, but damn, I mean, Keegan is just. We talked about it at the beginning of last season. It's like, man, this guy doesn't really act like a rookie.
Yeah.
And you heard it from his teammates, you heard it from his coaches, and man. You start talking about that 3rd star thing that we were kind of saying earlier in the podcast. Why put everything at risk when you have one in the making?
Yeah.
And I think based off what we saw late last year, what we're seeing this summer so far. Another thing that I did not note is he put on 8 pounds of muscle.
Yeah, he looked big.
He looked good.
I was going through his pics. I'm like, damn.
Damn, don't get too excited, Tony.
He's got. I mean, I just looking at him. It's like Yeah, he got some big arms now.
Yeah. He had some veins kind of.
He got some veins.
Yeah.
If you got the bicep veins, that's how you know you're jacked.
Yeah.
Just saying.
8 pounds of muscle is a lot.
Yeah.
That's pretty significant.
I mean, they say 8 pounds of muscle. Probably 8 pounds in general.
Yeah.
But.
True.
They said Fox put on 10 pounds of muscle, which is honestly impossible. And then he
was
sucked.
that 2 years ago?
Yeah.
He just like slowed him down or whatever. He's like way bigger.
Well, because it's not 10 pounds of muscle. It's 10 pounds of weight in general. But they say muscle. That's, can't build muscle that quickly. I'm just saying. I know these stuff.
Tony's he's a gym bro. But yeah, Keegan Murray, man. I mean, there's a lot of excitement around him for a reason. And I mean, will he become the 3rd star next season? Maybe not. I don't really see him scoring 20 points a game next season.
Let me say something that was interesting. I read a quote that Luke Locke said that basically, like, after he was saying that they saw Keegan score 18 or 19 straight and everyone's jaws were on the floor, a scout came over to him and said that this was like the best jump from year 1 to year 2 that he's seen since Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
And then it's like, whoa, that's crazy. So I went to Kawhi's stats. And, Kawhi Leonard's a superstar in our league. He only jumped from like 10 to 15 points, which is interesting. And because, I don't know, you just kind of assumed, especially after that quote, that he would have jumped to like 20 points. So, I mean, even if he can jump to 15, 16 points on a consistent basis and play good defense, I mean, you already have Herter, you have Barnes, because he was, 11 points a game last year, 12?
Something like that, yeah.
But if he can, like, consistently be maybe a 3rd option, even that sense, even just scoring 16, which is, I mean, we want OG Anunoby to score 16, be here and score 16, play good D. If he can just do that on a consistent basis, though, I mean, that's good enough. In year 3, that's when you get really excited.
Right.
So, I mean... I think he can do it too, and I think he showed in summer league a lot. I mean, yeah, his usage rate on the floor was like crazy, obviously because they just wanted the ball in his hands. But he was showing some stuff. I mean, he hit that crazy step back off the dribble, which was crazy. I mean, he was always good with the float game, but I think he's a lot more better off the bounce now. And he's just showing those improvements to his game where you used to see him just as a catch and shoot guy. Well, now it's like, yeah, he can maybe create, if he can create on his more that he showed that he could do. I mean, that's just all the makings to make that next step.
Yeah, and that's his goal. He said he wants to go out there and be able to go out and do it on his own to be able to get a bucket when the team needs a bucket.
Yeah.
When necessary. And, he doesn't want to just do the right thing for the sake of doing the right thing. He wants to be the best he can in order to do the right thing. He wants to, put the maximum impact out there. He's just got a good approach to things, and and yet, you hear Colby Jones say about him, it's like nobody can speed him up, nobody can change his pace. He's gonna, play at the speed and get to the spots that he wants to get to, the way he wants to, and confident young guy. I don't know, got to be excited. I mean, there's a lot to be excited for, obviously, with the next season, but you jump from year 1 to year 2 for Keegan Murray. Here we are again talking about it.
Yeah.
So, but. I mean, I guess kind of thinking about those 2 California Classic games, we could talk a little bit about Keon Ellis, who maybe didn't look 100% great in the first game, still had some good moments, but in the second game looked particularly good. I think probably the defensive highlight from the Kings Sacramento class or California Classic in Sacramento. The defensive highlight for the team was Keon Ellis snatching the ball out of, I don't remember who it was, but I don't even know if it was a block or a steal because he just
yeah. It was...
I think it's technically a block because it's a shot attempt.
Yeah,
but it was a block and a steal in my mind. What do they call those, blocks or whatever?
A what?
When they combine it, they're like, yeah, he has 4 blocks per game where they combine the steals and the blocks.
I've never heard that.
Blocks.
People say that?
Yeah, I heard it a lot when I was reading up on draft prospects. If they have a lot of steals and blocks, they'll just combine them into one.
Oh, okay. Never heard it.
Stocks. It's probably stocks.
Would it be stocks or bleals?
I think it's the first one. I think it's the first one. But
Bradley Beal.
Well, that would be perfect, if they did call those Bleals, Bradley Beal. But he's not really known for any of those things.
No.
But Keon Ellis, he got one of the two-way contracts. I think that's he's probably going to have a little bit, again, that roll down in Stockton again with the opportunity to come up. They have, interesting depth up front or up at the top. We were talking about Duarte and Colby Jones getting drafted and stuff like that. But Keon Ellis is going to be another guy that kind of makes that positional group interesting. It'd be interesting to see what he does for the rest of Summer League, what he does in training camp. I don't know. Keon Ellis, steady growth. Don't want to get too far ahead of yourselves here. But he's kind of continuing to show that the Kings may know how to develop guys in a different way.
I like Ellis. I think he's a solid guy. And he was like that 15th guy on the roster all last year. He didn't really play in G League, right? He was usually on the bench during games.
Him?
Ellis?
Yeah. Didn't he win the G League All-Star MVP?
Did he? I want to say he was always on the Kings bench though.
No, he played a lot of games in Stockton.
Okay, maybe
he was the best player in Stockton. Well, Queta might have been the best player, but technically, but
maybe in Sacramento he just came up to be the 15th guy. I don't know. He was on the bench decently.
Yeah, he was. And to be honest about Ellis, when he did come into the game, especially late in the year, there were some moments where it was like, okay, he's not ready.
Yeah, and that's how I still kind of feel right now. He's obviously, he looks a little better this year, at least in the California Classic, but, he's definitely, a little further along than Queta is, but I think Ellis is still a little, I don't know, it's just kind of like, what's your role? What are you going to do? You're not bringing up the ball, and you're not good enough to be a catch-and-shoot guy. So what are you going to do?
And he's not big enough to play on the wing.
No.
Full time. And I think that's one of the big things for him was if he could add more muscle. Again, we're talking about how hard it is to add muscle, so that's easier said than done. But that might have to be a factor at one point. Because
he's what, 6'2"?
I think he's
6'3"?
6'5", 6'6".
Is he Keon Ellis?
I think so.
Is 6'5"?
I think so.
6'4" tops.
I think he's 6'5", 6'6".
No way.
I'm not even kidding. But he's definitely slight of frame. I think he's easily under 200 pounds. Might even be.
Okay, maybe he's 6'3".
What?
It says.
He's 6'3"?
That's what it says on Google. Okay. I think it's saying no way. Yeah, he's 6'3".
Huh. Well, then you don't need to show me. I'm wrong. Okay. Well, then the strict 2 guard. That is always the issue.
And even an undersized 2 guard with that in this NBA, for not doing anything exceptionally. Malik Monk's 6'1", but you can see what he can do at 6'1".
And rotationally in these 2 California Classic games, it was they would pull Jordan Ford out, who's the starting point guard, and then bring Colby Jones in. And Colby Jones got more ball handling duties than Keon Ellis. So it is always a question of that. We saw Keon Ellis shoot 50% from 3 in last year's Summer League. So that's kind of key. But, I don't know. Now I have to rethink everything. I didn't know he was 6'3". I don't know. I was always under the impression that he was 6'5", 6'6".
Yeah, he was always between that point guard, maybe a shooting guard guy, but I don't know. Keon, his height. That's why I'm like, really? I don't know about Keon. If he was 6'6", sure. Try him out that small forward maybe, but 6'3", you already loaded out that guard spot already. What do you need him to do?
Yeah. Just keep pouring water on that plant. And,
yeah, exactly. The G League's there for a reason, so just keep developing him.
And one of the things that McNair always talks about is just acquiring and holding on to assets and having assets at your disposal. So even if he doesn't develop into something that fills a role for the Kings, everybody watches Summer League. People watch the G League. People know about Keon Ellis in terms of front offices, not casual fans. But, so, at one point, maybe, could be after this Summer League. Well, he's got the 2-way contract with the Kings, so maybe next season somebody wants to pursue Keon Ellis or something like that. And, or maybe in a trade, they want to have him included in some capacity. So, even if he doesn't necessarily have an outlook to fulfill a role, you put him on that runway to develop into an NBA player, somebody's going to want him. So, good for Keon.
Keon jealous.
Keon jealous.
But you know who's someone that was playing in the California Classic? Only played one of the games that I really liked. Alex O'Connell.
Yeah.
He went 4 for 5 in the second game. Didn't get any play in the first game, but man, like he got that shooter's touch. He looked really good. I'm very excited to watch him in summer league, honestly, because I feel like, in the NBA today and just on the Kings, shooting's at a premium.
Yeah.
And if you can knock down shots like that on a high clip or a decent clip,
yeah.
do you think he can work his way maybe into the last two-way deal?
Yeah, absolutely. If there's an open two-way deal, I would almost say, just based off the two games, and granted he only played 10 minutes, right, in the second game?
Yeah.
And so 10 minutes total in those two games, I would be more inclined to give the kid out of Creighton, Alex O'Connell, an opportunity. He doesn't just shoot. He's got good size to him. Look up his height. I don't want to make a fool of myself again. He's like 6'9". But good athleticism to him. 6'6". Okay, so adequate. What's his weight?
180.
180. Is that...
It's a little thin. I wouldn't say it's crazy for the NBA, I guess. 6'6", 180.
Where are they getting that? Is that from the G League stats, or is that from him coming out of Creighton?
Well, this is Basketball Reference.
Okay.
Let me just type in Alex O'Connell weight.
Anyways, he's got what it takes to fill some kind of a role, even if that is just kind of an instant offense guy off the bench, which is what he did in that second California Classic game. Great shooting touch, great leaping ability, runs the floor, finds his spots on the perimeter. We talk about that Terrence Davis role a lot. Well, one of the things that kind of, like, the Terrence Davis role was not always fitting for Terrence Davis because Terrence Davis is a scorer. And so if you could kind of, like, break up the Terrence Davis role into multiple people and kind of like, well, you need a scoring punch off the bench. Let's say, God forbid, I love the guy, Kessler. Let's say Kessler Edwards never gets his three-point shot to fall next season, or something like that. Or you're struggling, and maybe Colby Jones isn't hitting him, or Duarte's not hitting him. You really just need a three-point shot. In specific situations, a guy like Alex O'Connell, now obviously, maybe you can somehow find another guy to do it that has NBA experience and can do other things for you on the floor, because there's question marks, obviously, about a guy that was undrafted last year, played a year in the G League, and is just kind of like getting us all hyped up and pent up and excited through two California Classic games. Still, I think what you said is always a factor. Shooting is a premium in this league. It's an asset that everybody looks for, everybody wants. It was one of the big reasons why the team was so reluctant to cut Sam Merrill at the end of camp last year. Now they kept Maneke and all these fellas.
You always need that white boy you can shoot.
It's true, man.
You got Duncan Robinson. Bucks got Pat Connaughton throwing back a little. Warriors GM. Mike Dunleavy, you just need that sniper who knows his role and gonna drain a three.
Yeah.
Alex O'Connell at least showed it in that second game of the California Classic.
As a two-way guy, why not? Really? It'd be fantastic.
Again, there's still 4 or 5 summer league games left. I don't really know how many summer league games there are. Maybe even 3. There's really not that many.
It's a sizable amount. I think it's like 5 or 6.
Okay. So, we'll see. We just be like, and then he just doesn't hit another 3.
And one of the things with O'Connell you have to note is that, what was the reasons they did bring two-way guys up? They tried to bring Queta up to fill a role at the backup 5. Mm-hmm. And they tried to bring Keon Ellis in as some defensive help. This is the best offense in the league. How much offensive help do you need?
That's very true.
So that does come into to play, but that's what makes the summer league so important. What can O'Connell show in terms of defense? Being kind of making that hockey pass, as McNair likes to say, running the floor, getting on the boards, stuff like that. So, he's got a real opportunity. I think even if they do intend to give the third two-way to Queta, I think that's a good strategy to kind of withhold it. See what you can get out of guys. Because, of course, you're going to give it to your recent pick. Of course, you're going to give it to a guy like Keon Ellis, who they probably have a multiple-year plan for in mind. But in terms of a third, if you're going to be granted an extra two-way spot, you might as well just kind of wait and kind of throw that carrot out in front of the. Is that the expression? The carrot in front of the rabbit, or the whatever? You know what I mean. Taunt the dog with the bone, you know.
Yeah, there you go.
And so, we could produce some good things coming out.
Yeah, give him a little incentive.
But I think Alex O'Connell was he caught Matt Barnes' eyes.
Oh yeah, I think he caught everyone's when he heaved that one up into the shot clock. He had to heave one up over a defender, and he threw it up high in the air. He had to change his arc. He just splashed.
It wasn't a bank or anything. It was just.
And I think that just, I mean, to me at least, that shows shooter's touch. Where it's like, we talk about Davion, like, he's not really a shooter. He kind of just has his shot mechanics, and he tries to make it. Where McConnell, from what I saw, and from him splashing it around that whole game, it's like, okay, this guy, he's a shooter.
Yeah.
He's a shooter.
Yeah.
So,
NBA level for sure.
Yeah. Be interesting.
Yeah.
To see what he does the rest of the Summer League.
I 100% agree. But if we want to kind of broaden our scope here to the league and look forward to next season, Adrian Wojnarowski kind of reported something that I thought was just stupid. You hear about that in-season tournament they want to do in December?
Yeah. I don't get the point.
Neither do I. I mean, like, the details will be released on Saturday, so if you're listening to this after then, you're going to know a lot more than we do now. But as it stands now, it just kind of seems like it fits into that kind of narrative of the NBA being that global league, that second FIFA kind of thing. And I'm not a big soccer guy, but as I understand it, they have kind of like inter-league tournament play where people will play in during the seasons sometimes, right?
I believe so.
Right.
I'm not the biggest FIFA guy. I know the Champions League exists where the best teams around the world, they have to qualify and they play or something. I don't know. Sorry, correct us.
Right. But I mean,
it happens.
So to me, this is like, just seems kind of like a way to get the game out there. Maybe it seems like it would develop into something where they would maybe bring in teams, the best teams from other leagues. Could you just see the Metropolitans 92 or Real Madrid or Olympiacos? Yeah,
I mean, it is becoming a global game, right? For sure.
But as it stands now, for them trying to prep for that, it just what tournament for what? What do you win? You get money?
You get $500,000.
What's that to an NBA player?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe for the two-way guy, it's like, dude. But like anyone else, I mean, I get $500,000. Probably a lot more than we're giving it credit to, even to an NBA guy. But it's like,
how much more? To be clear, I would love to have $500,000.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah, but I agree. It's just like, really, I don't know. It just seems. It sounds like the rule. I was trying to go over it. Is that you're going to be broken into 5 pool, or each team is going to be put into a pool of 5 teams, so 4 other teams. The first 6 weeks of the season, you're going to play the team in your pool one time at least, and then you're going to have 2 home games, 2 away games. Like, it's basically like the FIFA World Cup.
Exactly.
And then you get the 2 top teams from the pool move on and do stuff.
And I heard something like some teams are going to play 81 games, some teams are going to play 83 games, just based on how the tournament pans out. And I don't. But why?
Yeah, because there's like a final, and then then that takes you to the tournament. So I don't know how many pools. How many teams are there? 32.
Well, there'll be 1 point, but 30 right now.
There's 30 right now. Sorry, the basketball and football throw me off. So there's 30 teams. So there's 6 pools. So there'd be 12 teams that make it if you're taking 2 from each pool. So it'd be 12 teams. That makes 6 matches. No, what? You need 8 matches to get to the final 4.
I mean, this is the thing. This is, regardless of what the specifics are, why? I just keep asking why, and nobody has an answer for me. Tony keeps asking why, I don't have an answer for him. I keep asking you why, and nobody's saying anything back to me in this computer right now. This microphone's not talking back to me.
Yeah, it just seems like a marketing move almost. And honestly, if it is a bigger scheme to pull in other teams for a mid-season tournament from other countries, I'd honestly be more for it, because at least it's like,
that'd be kind of interesting.
It'd be fun to watch. Mm-hmm. I don't care about a mid-season tournament. Like when we have the finals at the end of the year, this one means nothing. Like maybe to see us play against other teams, to see other competition, it'd be enjoyable, especially maybe in December. Mm-hmm. But at the moment, it just sounds like, why?
It just seems so obvious that they're setting up for something like that in the future. I mean, like, And maybe you want to go like, well, they should do this tournament at the beginning of the season. I get it. We had Eurobasket last year. There's different tournaments around the world that happen in the lead up to when the NBA season starts, when training camp starts. So it's like that time needs to be reserved for that. So I kind of get why they'd want to do it in the middle of the season. Like you also said, there's like right in the aftermath, the finals probably wouldn't be the best thing for American viewers and whatnot. And, but it's just like, I don't know. At this point, again, you might be listening to this. It might already be Saturday. There might be a little more clarity on the situation. It might make more sense. But after Woj's report, it's just like, what? Why?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Why? What happened to a normal 82-game schedule? That's back in my day. That was the normal thing.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we'll be telling our grandchildren.
Yeah, last year. Well, not back in our day. They had a 72 game in the COVID season, so.
They had to do a thing at Disney World.
Yeah.
You don't know how easy you have it.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, that'll be interesting. I'm looking. No, I don't want to say looking forward. I'm interested for Saturday. I'm intrigued. See what happens Saturday, or see what's released on Saturday to see what this mid-season tournament really is about. And I would hope, even if they're like prepping for something later down the road, I hope they kind of just throw that out there. Just so we're like, oh, well, this is stupid. Yeah, they get $500,000. Yeah, you think Tyrese Halliburton making 40 or 50 million? How much are you making?
Like over 50 million?
Yeah,
right?
maybe 52 a year.
52, yeah.
Yeah, he really cares about 1% of his salary. 1%? Yeah, 1%.
Probably tips the freaking, like, bellboy that freaking hotel.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't know. Obviously, we have no concept of money. We have nothing. So
yeah.
We have no context what's going on. But those are our thoughts on the mid-season tournament that seems to be on its way to being here, I guess.
Yeah. Let us know how you guys feel, if you're excited, and if you have any more information. Love to hear it. We'll find out more Saturday.
That's right. Malika Andrews, they're going to do like a thing with Malika Andrews, so I might watch it.
Fair enough. But I think that brings us to our last topic of the day. John, was that it?
I think so.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
It was nice talking to you all again. Free agency happened. I mean, we have summer league coming up, but other than that, it might be, slower couple months coming up ahead of us as we get ready for the NBA season to begin in 3 months. But this is I guess summer league will be fun.
Summer league's always fun. There's still potential for moves. Whether that means the Kings are probably more likely other teams around the league. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. See if Alex O'Connell gets that last two-way contract.
The juiciest topic of the offseason is Alex O'Connell.
Ayo.
Creighton.
Ayo Creighton. Alex Ocasio-Cortez, AOC. Alex O'Connell Creighton. Or Alex O'Connell, AOC. Right there.
I guess so.
It's AOC, baby.
Look at that big ass. Look at that big juicy booty. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up.
Yeah, I don't. I have no idea what you're talking about. But, all right. I want to thank you, as always, for tuning in. And until next time, have a good one.